your new friend Ty. Hey guys, welcome back to the Tea Party Podcast. It's a podcast where you find new friends and new music. This week, I am joined by a Southern California native who you may recognize from season 16 of The Voice, or maybe you're one of her over 350,000 followers on TikTok. She's here to share her newest single and her journey. Let's welcome to the show, Miss Presley Tennant.
Hello.
Presley, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I am doing fantastic. It's Friday Junior today, almost to the weekend.
It took me a second to get it, but hey, I get it now. And you are very right. I'm ready for it to be Friday.
Well, awesome. I'm excited to get to know you and share everything that you've been doing with everybody. And we'll tee off with Presley next.
It's time to tee off with Ty. Here comes the first four.
Okay, Presley, question number one of what we call the first four. If you couldn't be in the entertainment industry, what job would you have?
So, I've thought about this. If I wasn't a singer, I'd definitely be something in the entertainment industry, but you blocked that question out. So I think I would have to probably be like real estate. My whole family, for the most part, does real estate, and I'm supposed to be taking my test tomorrow to get my license. So I would probably say like real estate agent.
Okay, there you go. I think if you're taking a test, that's a good answer.
Well, yeah. So, but that, that was just like because I felt like I need to. I'm not in school right now, and so I was like, I need to make some use of my time when I can. So I was like, once I get this, I'll be good for a little bit. So I will do this right now and then see what happens from there.
Makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. Question number 2. If I give you the control of music at a party, what's the first song that you're going to put on that's going to get everybody up and moving?
Okay, this one I feel like kind of depends on the vibe of the room. Okay. It kind of depends on what we were listening to before. But for the most part, I like to play some throwbacks. I love me some music that everybody knows and everyone will start singing and get down a little bit. So anything from like early 2000s to like 90s, that's going on the playlist.
That is a great answer. That is the perfect way to get the party started. To be fair, that's probably right where I would go to.
I feel like that's just like that makes the most sense. That's what gets everyone knows those songs. It's not like a new song of today's day and age where not everyone would know it. You have to do what everyone knows.
They're hits for a reason, right?
Exactly.
Okay, this one I feel like is going to be a fun question for you. If you could bring any fictional character to life from a TV, movie, book, wherever it is, and hang out with them for a day, who would it be?
Oh my goodness. This one's hard.
This one is a little tough.
Fictional character, any movie, TV show. Oh my goodness. Okay, well, obviously, my normal choice of TV shows would not be a good choice for this because I love watching a lot of crime shows. And
okay, so that can be tough.
I feel like that's not a good answer. Like, I might be a little scared the entire day to hang out with them. Mm-hmm. But, okay, I feel like, why can't I think of what it's called? But Agent Reed, if you know who that is from Why Can't I Think of It? Why can't I think of it? There is a show that I watch all the time, and it's blanking from me. His name is Dr. Spencer.
Criminal Minds?
There we go. Oh my God. I was like, I haven't seen it in a little bit because I feel like I'm all caught up. But I just think the way his brain works is so fascinating. So I would love to hang out with him for a day.
Also, another good choice. I definitely see why you would say that. Okay.
I love like crime shows. So I was like, I can't really pick like any of those ones. Those would not be good. I mean, that one's a crime show, but
I feel like that's a safe pick.
That one's a safe one. I know he'd probably keep me safe. So
okay, final question of the first 4. If you could have an unlimited supply of anything, whiskey, guitar strings, tacos, scotch tape, I guess for you it probably wouldn't be whiskey, but what would it be?
I would say, okay, I'm not gonna lie, I really love me some canned nacho cheese, so I would say I would say like an unlimited supply of that. That's like my go-to snack. It's not healthy. I'm pretty sure it's like made out of plastic, but you know what? It makes me happy, and like if I'm getting home late from a show, I'm gonna whip out the can of cheese and some chips. And
that's a great answer.
Yeah, and it's rough when I come back from a show and we don't have it, and I'm like, that's just what I wanted.
And it's freaking delicious.
Exactly.
I was working a festival over Labor Day weekend, And backstage, all of the stagehands had canned cheese and crackers the entire weekend. It was the greatest thing ever.
No, that's how like my parents and I are too. Like my dad, I literally got him a big like can. It's like the giant ones, the big like canned cheese. I got him that because I know he also loves it. That was kind of like the joke gift, but I was like, this is perfect. I feel like this is very fitting.
That's awesome. Well, Presley, thank you so much for playing along with the first four. But now it's time to get to know you. Give us the story of growing up in California and tell us how you first got into music.
Yeah, so I grew up in Norco, California. I was born and raised there. It's also known as Horsetown, USA. And I still live here now, and I just absolutely love it. And then when I was 7, I got into singing a little bit, and I really enjoyed it because I felt like I was able to kind of be free. I was more of like the shy kid growing up. And then I started taking vocal lessons and was playing soccer full time. And then all of a sudden during my vocal lessons, I auditioned for a little local singing competition near me. And I auditioned there and was introduced to this girl group called the 5 LPs, or the 5 Little Princesses. And I was like up in LA 4 or 5 days a week auditioning for the group. And I just fell in love with performing and rehearsing and all the hard work that goes into it. It was like those moments where it's like, this is where I'm supposed to be at. Like I was here for a reason. And I knew it from that moment on. So when I auditioned, I got cut and I was so devastated, but I was like, you know what, I'm going to learn. And I never even knew this whole world existed, but I took dance lessons. I continued with my vocals. And then I got brought back out to the group. And I think it was a few more times that like we went back and forth from being cut to not cut. And then I finally made the group. And that's what really introduced me to everything. Like I just loved performing, rehearsing, writing, recording, just being around professional musicians 24/7 that have been in this industry for so long. That was something I really looked up to. And so when I was 13, the group kind of fizzled out and I went on my solo journey, and it led me on season 16 of The Voice when I was 16 years old, and all the way to where I am now.
So give us kind of what that process was like for you, because you were pretty young going on The Voice. You were 16, you got a shot to go on there. And before we talk about the actual show, I'm always fascinated. How did they find you? How did they contact you? What was that process like leading up to the blind audition?
So when I was, I think 13, they had reached out to me, but their age limit was 15. And so I wasn't able to audition then, but I would have. But I'm actually really glad that I didn't, because I felt like I wasn't ready. And so it kind of kept happening each season. And then when I turned 16, they had reached out back out again. And I was like, you know what? I feel ready for this. I feel like I can hang with all the big dogs that are there that do music as their profession full time. And so I said yes, and I auditioned. And there was a few different processes that I had to go through. And that was like with producers and casting. And finally it got to the point in my blind auditions. And it was just the most fun experience I think I have ever had. I was there for a couple weeks prior to, and was hanging out with the contestants 24/7, as well as going to like set school, and then going to wardrobe, and then interviews, and then rehearsals. It was just absolutely incredible to be around so many like-minded people who love and appreciate music as much as I do.
Well, so then you took that and you ended up in the blind audition. You went out there, you sang. Kelly Clarkson turned her chair around pretty darn quick, in fact, and then was just grooving with you the whole time. What was going through your head when only one judge turned around, but that judge was very obviously loving you?
It was the most nerve-wracking. I normally don't get very nervous, but it was the most nerve-wracking audition I have ever done. That's kind of a big
stage.
100%. And like I have to walk through these double doors, and I was scared I was going to fall, and there's like stairs at the end of the double doors, and I was scared I was going to fall and trip on stage, and I was like, this is going to be bad. This is not good. But I walked on stage, and then I just started singing, and all my nerves kind of just went away. They were still there a little bit, but I was trying to like change it into adrenaline. Like, no, Presley, you're excited, to try to like not psych myself out. And I knew teams were filling up at that point. So I knew there wasn't many spots left. And then when Kelly turned, it was just like all those nerves went away, because I was going, if I had multiple and she was one of them, she was going to be who I was going to choose anyways. I have looked up to Kelly for so long, and she was like my first concert ever. I would always sing her song "Because of You" at like every single talent show, competition thing near me, and so I felt like it was like a full circle moment where my idol has now turned for me. Now she's my coach, and then she like became like my friend. It felt like it was just the coolest and most surreal feeling I think I've ever felt.
That's got to be pretty awesome. And I know that a lot of people kind of feel this way, that you've got that same kind of, we'll call it swagger that Kelly does. I mean, your music kind of sounds the same. You guys kind of have the poppy country. You can flow back and forth between those two seamlessly. How much time did you actually get to spend with Kelly while you were there?
I got to spend a good amount of time with her there. It was, there'd be like certain things scheduled where I was technically supposed to have like 30 minutes, but it ended up being like a couple hours just to like solidify and perfect everything that was going on for like the certain rounds. But she was very hands-on, and I really appreciated that.
Well, and you kind of went in there as a pop artist and came out as a true country artist. How much of that was due to Kelly's influence?
I would say that majority of me switching to country music was due to Kelly, and I thank her every day for that, just because I think it was my top 24 performance, and I had already kind of before the show started felt like I wasn't singing the music that I necessarily was in love with, and I just didn't know where to go with it. But I remember it was my top 24 performance, and we were in rehearsal for it, and I was singing "Nothing Breaks Like a Heart," but it's a very like giddy kind of synth pop song. I just wanted to do something where I could really sing. And so we sat there for like 2 hours just saying, of her just telling me like, you have to do music, you have to sing music that you love to sing, because at the end of the day you have to look at yourself in the mirror and say you're okay with this and you're proud of who you are, because you can't try to be something that you're not. And that always kind of stuck with me. And after The Voice ended, I felt like I came off the show and I was kind of doing like, even during the show, I was doing a little bit of soul searching. But it was like that moment where I was like, okay, I think I know exactly where I want to go. And I looked in like the direction of country music, and it just felt so right. I mean, I grew up with it. Everyone around me listens to it. Where I'm from, like, it's just my town where I'm from is like kind of embodies it. And so I was like, this is like, I don't know, this is like who I am. Like, it's always been there. And so when I went into country music, nothing just felt more right.
Well, in a lot of people, when they think of Southern California, they think of pop and rock and Hollywood, but there really is this, I guess, area in Southern California, right where you grew up, that is just as blue collar and country music based as anywhere in Oklahoma or Texas or Georgia. What do you think growing up on the West Coast did to your sound versus maybe if you had grown up somewhere that's typically a country music hotbed? Do you think you would have jumped on that train a little bit earlier?
I don't know if I would have. I feel I probably would have, because that's what I would have been around, and that's because that's what I would have known. But I feel like I'm very grateful for the fact that I got to experience so much at a young age, and I got to learn exactly who I am and what I want to sing from a young age. I mean, everything that I went through, I wouldn't change anything because of how much I learned during those times. And so I have different influences. Like I have like the pop, I have the rock, the soul, a little bit of everything into who I am. And I love incorporating all of that, because I feel like my music is just an extension of me. It's just putting myself out there in a different light, but it's all truly who I am. And I feel like if I grew up anywhere different, I feel like I'd have a different experience of everything. So not to say I probably would have been doing country music earlier on if I was from somewhere else that didn't have all the surrounding influences right next to me at the tip of my fingertips. But I'm really happy with the journey that I've been on, because it led me exactly where I am today.
Well, and when you think about country music, and it's true of really all genres, but are you still based in Southern California?
I am. Yes.
So you're based in Southern California, but there's obviously a lot of the happenings happen in Nashville. And I know that you go back and forth, but in terms of opening some doors, I know in country music, you have a big hit. It opens a lot of doors in terms of venues and rights and networking, really. What kind of opportunities came your way after being on The Voice?
The opportunities that came afterwards, The Voice, let me put it this way. The Voice definitely opened up doors for me. For shows that I necessarily may not have been given as serious of a chance. But because there's shows in my hometown that have always happened. Like without The Voice, I wouldn't have been able to open up for like Blake Shelton and Tim McGraw, Dustin Lynch, Brett Young, Carly Pierce, and like Jimmy Allen. I just opened up for Alexandra Kay like last weekend. None of that would have been possible without being on The Voice. The Voice kind of just was like that little stepping stone. And it's like hey, this is who I am. And like, if you want proof, this is what I did type of thing. And I'm very grateful for that.
And you've mentioned songwriting a little bit, and I do want to talk about that coming up. But first, I want to give everybody who hasn't seen you on The Voice or hasn't seen you in person a chance to hear what Presley Tennant sounds like. So the first song that we have for everybody today is called Gamble on You. It came out back in March. Give us the story behind how this one came about and let everybody in on what the writing process was like.
So Gamble on You, I wrote, I want to say last year at some point, and I was going into a tracking session the next day out in Nashville, and I just wasn't in love with one of the songs that I had. And so I was like, you know what, let me try to write something better and see how I feel. And I was watching the TV channel, and I was talking to this guy that I really liked at that time, and I just didn't know where it was going. And it was on the poker channel too. And so I looked at the poker channel, looked at my phone, and I was like, oh my God, this is a song. I'm taking a gamble. I'm taking a risk. I'm putting everything I have into this, and I have no idea what's going to happen afterwards. I'm either going to win big or I'm going to lose. But I wrote the song, and I'm just so happy that it's finally out. And I did end up tracking it the next day. So I was very happy about that, how it turned out. So, but yeah, this is Gamble on You.
3 a.m. and you're pulling me in, tattooed skin and a little bit of gin. Your green eyes got me feeling right, and your smile's got me hypnotized. Some say it's a dangerous game, but what a shame if I didn't play. If you play your cards and I'll roll my dice, I'm all in if I'm yours tonight. Don't be a joker or play me for a fool. Come on, baby, show me your next move. I'll be the queen to your king since you asked me to, but don't for now, 'cause I'm taking a gamble on you. Dim down the lights, I got a seat to my left and it's yours tonight. Losing track of time, 'cause I can't seem to get you off my mind. Show me your lead, this ain't a game of luck, we both can see. My love ain't free, so how much you wanna bet on me? Don't be a joker or play me for a fool. Come on, baby, show me your next move. I'll be the queen to your king since you asked me to, but don't for now, 'cause I'm taking a gamble on you. Don't be a joker, play me for a fool. Come on, baby, show me your next move. Don't be a joker or play me for a fool. Come on, baby, show me your next move.
out in March. It's called Gamble on You by Presley Tennant. And Presley, we talked about your songwriting just a little bit, but what does your writing process look like? Is it pretty rigid where you sit down and know when you're going to write, or does it sort of change with each session?
I feel like it kind of changes with wow, tongue twister with each session. But majority of the time, I feel like I have a lyric that has kind of been sticking out to me, or a certain melody that I really want to write on. And I make sure I save it in my little voice notes. If I ever lose my voice notes app, I think that might be the end of the world for me, because it has everything in there. And so it all usually starts off with that, mainly an idea. And then I go in and I talk about like, hey, like this is what I'm thinking. And we kind of run with it and see how we're feeling. And then the whole song usually ends up coming out that night. Or it's myself just in my room and I have just this one idea and I'm like, okay, how do I want to put this? And when I'm writing by myself, I love creating like a storyline of how I want the verse to be, to the chorus, to the second verse, to the chorus, to the bridge, and the chorus out. And it all kind of changes, but majority of the time that I'm writing by myself, that's how it goes, because I love having a clear picture and seeing like, okay, how can I get to this point, to this point? I don't know. And I feel like I use a lot of words in my songs where you were able to really imagine like being there in that moment to kind of visualize it. That's something that's really important to me. But yeah, that's kind of a little bit of my writing process.
So, and I found that this question is a little bit polarizing for everybody, but do you like to write alone, or would you rather have a co-write?
I love both. I love writing by myself because I'm able to really just let every single one of my feelings out, and I could write a song that's really heartbreaking, or I could write a song that's really not good. But when I'm with other people, I just love the fact that I'm able to say one thing, and even if we don't use it, it always kind of stems something else that somebody else may be thinking of. Like if I'd say like, oh, like this is a really bad example, but it's like, oh, like I like apples, and someone's like, okay, but I really like oranges, so how could we like incorporate this and that? And I'm like, okay, like I love this. That was a really bad example, but usually it just kind of stems from there, that type of thing.
Well, one example that we've seen on your TikTok page is you kind of rewrote Zach Bryan's Something in the Orange from the girls' perspective. You put that one out at the end of August. What was the push behind that for you? Did it just kind of start as something that you were doing on TikTok, or did you really kind of feel like you wanted to rewrite that song from the first time you heard it?
So I was on a flight home from Nashville, and Zach Bryan had released his like big album that just dropped like the night before, and I was heading on a flight home, and so I downloaded it real fast and I kept listening to Something in the Orange over and over again. And I thought it would be kind of interesting to kind of rewrite it from the girls' perspective. And I just did the chorus and posted it on TikTok, not thinking it was going to do well or anything. I was just like, yeah, I really like this. This seems cool. And so I posted it and it did really well. And everyone kind of wanted the full perspective, because a lot of the girls and I don't know, a lot of girls and guys both wanted it from whether it be like a closure sense, like, oh, like the girl is coming back, or like, I just need him to know that type of thing. And so a lot of people wanted the full version. I was like, oh my goodness, like I was not expecting this. So I rewrote the whole version, and I kept a lot of it very similar to what Zach Bryan said, because I think that song is just lyrically perfect, but just to kind of give it a different perspective.
So where can people follow you on social media? What are your handles? What's your website?
So you can find me on all my social media, which is at Presley Tennant. So PresleyTennant. Or you can go to my website, which is PresleyTennant.com, and every single one of my social media account is there.
Perfect. And you can see, right, you've got videos pinned to the top of your TikTok page. So anybody out there listening can go watch kind of the progression of this song come to life, and then go find it and listen to it, wherever you get your music. But we've got one more song for everybody to take a listen to, Presley. This one, it's your brand new single. It's called Break My Heart, and it's kind of an interesting twist, I think, on a traditional love song. Give everybody the story about how this one came about.
So I wrote Break My Heart with two phenomenal writers, and that is Nick Autry and Bobby McLam. And, we kind of had this idea of like, I want you to break my heart. And like when you first, and we shortened it to just Break My Heart, but I thought it was really interesting because when you think of the words like break my heart, you think like, oh, you're going to break my heart, that type of thing. And this is saying like, no, if someone's going to do it, like I want it to be you because I want to be with that person so badly, that you're okay with all the ups and downs and the hard nights and like this and like just the thought of being with someone means so much that you're okay with anything that they may put you through. Now, that doesn't mean specifically that you stay with somebody, but you're like, hey, if this happens, I'm okay with it because at least we gave it a chance.
Well, here, let's give everybody a chance to take a listen to this one. It's called Break My Heart by today's guest, Presley Tennant.
I like the way you make me wanna fall, make me wanna close my eyes and jump right off over the edge, right into the deep end. I'm hanging on to every word to say. Yeah, we're up and down, off and on, and that's okay. As long as I can have you, it's all worth the pain. I don't care if it's one more night or the rest of my life. I want you to break my heart, keep every piece when it falls apart. Long as you put it back together, I'll go through this forever. Only want your name on these scars. I want you to break my heart. I'm wrapped around your finger more than I should be. Every second without you is an eternity. I'll take everything you got to give. I'll give you back all of me. If you wanna leave, I'll set you free, but I'll always take you back. I want you to break my heart, keep every piece when it falls apart. Long as you put it back together, I'll go through this forever. Only want your name on these scars. I want you to break my heart. Slam the door, leave you the key to get back in anytime you want. I want you to break my heart, keep every piece when it falls apart. Long as you put it back together, I'll go through this forever. Only want your name on these scars. I want you to break my heart. I want you to break my heart.
Brand new music by today's guest, Presley Tennant. That one was called Break My Heart. And Presley, thank you so much for jumping on here. I've had an absolute blast. We've definitely got to do this again in the future. But before we let you go, we end every show kind of the same way that we start it, with 4 questions that make you think. You up for it?
Sounds good.
It's time for the Final Four.
Okay, here we go. First question of the final 4. And this one is typically pretty easy. I started off a little easy for you. What's your favorite guitar brand?
My favorite guitar brand, I would have to say Close Guitars. They're made with like complete carbon fiber, and so they're really light to take everywhere, as well as for traveling back and forth to Nashville. I just take the neck off and put it in this bag, and it's perfect.
You say you take the neck off to travel with?
Yes, you can take
That's
the neck off and
fantastic.
keep the strings on, and there's like a sleeve for it. And I don't know, it's awesome because I was on a flight one time in Nashville, and there was no room for my guitar, so they were gonna have to ship it. But we ended up finding room, but I was like, oh my gosh, well now I can at least put it underneath my seat with me, so I know it's gonna be okay.
That's awesome. I'm gonna have to check those out. Okay, here we go. Second question of the final 4. Who are your 3 most recently played artists on your Spotify or Apple?
Oh my
You
goodness.
can cheat if you need.
We're gonna cheat because I don't know it. Let's see. I don't even know how to look at that. There's a lot of Co Wetzel right now.
Okay.
Megan Maroney, and then Zach Bryan are the top couple ones right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, how about this one? When you're out on the road, what's the one place that you have to stop every time you see it? A store, a gas station, a restaurant?
Oh my goodness. Okay, well, I feel like this sounds so California-like, but anytime in California, like anywhere still, I will always go for In-N-Out. In-N-Out cheeseburgers are the best ever. And then, but okay, when I am in Nashville, there's one place my mom and I have to go to, and it's called Sambuca. It's a restaurant, and it is so good. They have this like risotto thing with like scallops. My favorite thing ever. My favorite thing ever.
That sounds absolutely incredible.
And then they have like these goat cheese, like artichokes. Oh my gosh.
I have it pulled up on my phone right now, and you are not lying. This is a must stop the next time I'm in Nashville.
So good. And like the music there, it's like all like nice and classy and like a piano, and everyone is so good. And the food, delicious. My favorite thing ever.
It is officially on my my checklist for Nashville next time. Okay. Last question for you, Presley, and take as much or as little time as you want to think about and answer this one. But if you could pick one thing for people to take away from your appearance on the show or your music in general, what would it be?
I feel like I kind of already said this, but I feel like if someone listens to my music or sees who I am from the show, I feel like I want them to take away that everything that I put out there is 100% me. I feel like on stage it's different because I become a little bit more of like an amplified version of myself. But through my music, I feel like every single bit of it is exactly who I am. And I feel like people really get a sense of who I am through it.
Well, that is a fantastic message to leave us on. Presley, thank you so much for jumping on here and chatting with us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. And guys, that was another episode of the Tea Party Podcast, the country music podcast where you find new friends and new music like Presley Tennant and her new single, Break My Heart.
Go tee off on the like button at facebook.com/Tea Party Podcast. This has been a Tea Party Communications production. Theme music created by Jesse Quandt. Announcer voiceovers by Gwinn. And as always, hosted by Pisani.